Do we have to change the food we eat in the future? Should we do it in order to prevent the next pandemics? Are we going to continue torturing animals just to feed ourselves? Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to talk about how technology is going to change food industry in the next 10 years. I remember back then in February when I read in a book called Future is Faster Than You Think by Stephen Kotler and Peter Diamandis. In one of the chapters of the book, they were mentioning that 70% of emerging diseases comes from livestock. When I read that, I had no idea that in less than a month, I will be in a lockdown at my place in Madrid because of a pandemic. In one of the chapters of the book, the authors talk about the future of food. It was a very interesting topic for me when I read it, but it became even more interesting after the start of COVID-19 disaster in the world. The first thing that the book discusses is the inefficiency of food. The thing is that we don't produce food in an efficient way. We have to use a lot of resources in order to cultivate plants, including humans, water, energy, and so on. And then after we cultivate it, we have to transport it from farms to cities for the people. And that also adds a lot of additional costs. Afterwards, when we get the food, we waste a considerable amount of it. I just read a part of the book for you to understand what a disastrous situation we're in. So it says, while 1 out of 8 Americans struggle to put food on the table, 40% of the food in the United States is never eaten. In fact, according to National Resources Defense Council, if we could rescue just 15% of that food, we'd be able to feed 25 million of the 42 million Americans now facing food insecurity. Besides that, United Nations is saying that by 2050, we will be more than 9 billion people in the world, and then that will cause a big problem because we won't have enough food to feed ourselves. Then the book mentions how researchers are trying so hard to make more efficient food by modifying the plants to be more durable and have more nutritional value. And the book mentions the brilliant idea of vertical farming. So as I previously said, one of the biggest problems that we're currently facing is the transportation of the food. So the idea of vertical farming is that bringing the farms to the cities instead of transporting the food from farms to the cities. So imagine that we grow plants in skyscrapers instead of fields. Actually, some companies are currently doing it. For example, the book talks about IKEA company that cultivates the plant inside their places and then customers can buy the food from them. So vertical farming has a lot of advantages. For example, in closed places, there are no pests, so we won't have to use pesticides. Also, it will reduce the water consumption by 90% comparing with the typical way of farming. The plants need less water if we rely on hydroponics and aeroponics. Then the book talks about the inefficiency of growing a cow, or better to say, meat production. I don't want to talk about the numbers mentioned in the book, but the reality is that we're in a very horrible situation currently and we're wasting a lot of energy and water to do that. One of the examples of inefficiency in meat production is that we have to raise an entire cow just for a single steak. For that, we have to torture the poor animal and then produce a lot of greenhouse gases and also deal with the waste from the animal. The authors introduced the solution of cultured meat for this problem. So basically the idea is that to take the stem cell of the animal and then produce infinite number of steaks out of it using biotechnological techniques. It will definitely take less time comparing with raising an entire cow, which takes a few years. It is possible to produce just a piece of steak in a lab environment in some weeks. Additionally, that kind of meat that is produced in lab environment could be even healthier than the food we are currently using. We can decrease the fat, we can increase the protein in the meat, and maybe add vitamins. We can also reduce the risk of pandemics and emerging diseases that comes from livestock. Of course, we still need some years to reach that point when we produce meat in a lab environment, because we need the technology to get mature and also the costs to get reduced in time. But anyway, I think it's a really brilliant idea. So the view of the book towards the future of food is pretty optimistic. Apparently we will have richer food and we don't have to torture animals just like we do right now. And we can feed ourselves even when we are more than 9 billion people on the earth. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos related to technology and paradigm shifts and so on, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.